That's a tough one. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Welcome to our React video number 2. A little different this time. I haven't seen these videos before, so I have no idea what to expect. My team feels that it would be more lively, potentially. We'll find out if it's not embarrassing, but I'll do my best. We're focusing today on a playlist that the team has put together regarding stain or staining. So let's see what we've got. So the first one says wrong color. So I'm not sure if he's received the wrong color, or he's put the wrong color on, or he selected the wrong color. Let's find out.
This customer picked redwood, and we have never used this color before. So we stained this corner, texted them before we continued, just to make sure this is what they wanted. And it was. This is the transparent redwood from Stain and Seal Experts. So it does show the wood grain as well.
It looks like redwood. I guess we'll continue to see what he means it's the wrong color.
But when it goes on and it's still wet, it's bright. So we just wanted to make sure before we stain this entire fence, which was just installed, and we wanted to get final approval to avoid a big costly mistake.
Okay, so I guess on that last part of the video, I wouldn't have done that much of the fence to get approval. I would have done 1 or 2 pickets. Let me do 50 feet of this fence, and then let's see if I can get their approval on it. I mean, I don't know, just saying. That's my gut reaction to that. So, yeah, we'll get on to the next video. I don't know what else to say on that one. Yeah, I would just use a small test sample, or even better, a segment of lumber that's been left behind on the project, and show the customer before that kind of mistake. That's a big mistake.
She turned out to love it.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, she did love it. Yeah,
oh.
She liked the fence.
Oh, too late. It's kind of like getting unpregnant, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of late. Yeah. Anyway, yes, she's gonna love that video. Love that color. All right, so we're on to this one. 5 biggest fence staining mistakes from a pro fence stainer.
What is up, everybody? Joe Everest, the fence expert. Today I'm with Caleb Roth with Expert Professional Wood Care, Stain and Seal Experts, to talk about the top 5 mistakes you see homeowners and new staining professionals make. We're basically trying to help avoid some heartache here, is that right?
That's right, Joe. Everybody's driven through a neighborhood and seen these awful examples of stained wood, and so maybe we can do something to kind of clear some of that up.
Yeah, basically take a fence from looking like this to looking more like this. These are actually demonstration panels that you just had brand new staining professionals apply stain to, is that right?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say professional, that's a strong word. Most of the people here had never done this before, so great result with 0 experience. So
absolutely.
Okay,
I think,
well, it looks like a really good video, and starting off with 2 very seasoned fence guys in staining, so looks like it might be exciting. So again, the 5 biggest mistakes. And if I understand what Caleb is saying here, and from experience, you don't have to be a seasoned stain guy to use the Expert Stain product, because it is so forgiving. So maybe that's where they're headed with this.
and I think we can get most people to do the same thing at home.
Very good. So we've got five mistakes to avoid when staining the next fence.
Yeah, and I think the #1 mistake that I see is people wait too long to stain their fence.
Okay. What do you mean?
Well, you know, your granddad, your grandpa, the guy at the paint store, the lady you've talked to across the street, everybody says, well, you gotta wait a year. You gotta let it season. You gotta let it go a full season, maybe 2 seasons. A lot can happen in a year.
Sure.
So UV damage, turning gray, mold and mildew can grow, dirt, debris, things like that can clog up the pores.
That is very true, what Caleb is saying here. That's it's interesting that he calls it a mistake, but it is actually. The longer you wait, the more work you have to do to clean up the fence and get it ready, or the deck, before you can start to stain. But if you get on it as soon as the wood's dry, he's absolutely right.
Yep. And so the problem is whatever you stain, it's going to highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you're staining a gray fence, you may have to wash it. If you're staining a fence that's got sprinkler marks or anything, all of those are going to show up. So waiting too long is the thing. So I recommend as quickly as you can get it stained. Just a couple weeks after installation usually is more than enough.
You got it. And so they should probably, if they've got a fence project scheduled now, would be probably the time to reach out to someone to start figuring out.
Most contractors are going to be a couple weeks out, so certainly want to get a contractor or at least get a plan to do it yourself.
Very good. Mistake number 1, waiting too long. All right, Caleb, on to mistake number 2.
Okay, so the biggest one we see is people jumping into a project without checking the moisture on it.
Okay.
So when a fence is new, particularly treated pine, it's going to be wet. It's going to come right out of the, right out of the mill. It's going to be very wet.
Sure.
And so you can use a moisture meter. Home Depot, Lowe's carries them, or you can do the back of the hand check. You can stick the back of your hand on the fence or your palm of your hand.
Okay.
If it feels cool, then it's generally too wet. If it feels nice and dry, it's probably nice and dry.
Okay. If we're using a moisture meter, what are we looking for as a readout to tell us that this fence is ready?
So you're looking for 13% moisture content or less with most stains. And even some water-based products claim you can use it in 20 or 30% moisture content, but the wood's not able to accept the stain at that, so it's really best to try to get it under 13%.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense, obviously. It's like any supersaturated solution, whether it's wood, if the wood is full of moisture, then it can't receive the stain very well. So it's just logical that you want the wood as dry as possible. Once the oil is on the wood, then the water is repelled from it, so it can't get in. But if it's raining, so I'm now starting on this patch, by the time I get to this piece of wood, it's already wet. So you can't stain on wet wood. You started staining in the morning and it started raining, and I know this from experience, that's going to be fine. You can do that just fine. And we did a sample together down in Florida. Florida rains every day in the summer. So you start in the morning, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you've got like the end of the earth deluge, because that's what happens. And that wood that's been stained is perfectly fine. But you're going to have to wait for the rest of the fence before you can start staining it.
15% or less. Yep. You heard it here. So mistake number 2, not checking the moisture content of the wood before you stain it. Caleb, what's the third mistake?
Probably the third mistake that I see is people not doing proper prep. So cut-ins, prep work, things like that. Yep. So as a stain contractor in Nashville, we see a lot of times we'll go to people's homes who've had a new fence installed, but the old fence, there's still signs of the old fence. There's overspray all over the house where somebody, a contractor or homeowner, sprayed stain all over the house. Yeah. Maybe it's on the driveway, on the air conditioner, what have you. But the best thing we have found to do is go ahead and take the time to mask things off. There's a lot of tricks you can do to avoid overspray and things like that, but the best policy is just to mask everything off. If you're next to a house, cut it in by hand, things like that. Gate hardware, if you're using a water-based product, you would want to mask those things off as well.
Got it. So third mistake is not taking the time to do the proper prep work.
And that makes total sense. And certainly even Caleb has always mentioned the plants and grass, things around you, get them wet so that, they don't pick up any of the excess residue from the stain or anything like that. So prep work is important. That's true for everything. On the hardware, you saw exactly what the guy was doing, and you thought it was a mistake, and they didn't clarify that. But with the expert product, because it's oil-based stain, the oil is not going to, let's say, penetrate into the steel. The steel is not going to take the color. If that was concrete or something porous, that would be a different story, and that's why you have to protect that. Or vinyl or other plastics or composites, that's a porous material, so you can't do that with any stain. With water-based stains, they're film forming, so they create a crust, as it were. And if you left that on the hardware, but it would leave a crust, and it would be harder to remove. That's the nice thing with the oil-based stains. Metal hardware, you can just go back and wipe it off, even hours later. Not a problem.
All right, that brings us to mistake number 4.
Mistake number 4 is 50-50. I'm actually going to say it's probably 30-70. 30% is people using too much stain.
Okay.
70% is probably not enough.
That's typically what I see, yeah.
Yeah, we see a lot of people all the time that they've got 500 feet of fence and they think it needs 7 gallons of stain.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's to protect the fence properly, you want to put a lot on there. When you go to the beach, you put on a lot
Absolutely.
of sunscreen. You need to put a lot.
That some of us do. I like to use that coconut oil personally. But yeah, that's just me. Yeah, I don't believe in that SPF stuff. But I think to Caleb's point is, since it is a flood coat, you want to get enough stain. And usually you just see what the wood's doing, how it's reacting. You don't want to put too much on. If the wood is not absorbing it, then obviously you need to put some more. If the wood, is starting to repel, you would put on a little less. And you'd backbrush and you'd make sure you get that cleaned up. But getting on enough stain is important. You're only doing it once, one coat, so get it on nice and thick.
A lot on this fence here, so you really want to make sure you get a nice even coverage and make sure you get it on there enough. And if there's not enough on there, you're going to be able to tell. So uniformity generally will tell us if we got enough on there or not.
So mistake number 4 is too much or not enough stain. All right, Caleb, we're ready for the 5th mistake you see homeowners and contractors make.
So everybody has drove through the neighborhood and seen that fence that just looks terrible. Usually it always comes from inconsistent application.
Yeah.
I don't want to say improper because a lot of people don't know what proper is.
Sure.
So the best way to do a proper application is try to be as consistent and as uniform as possible.
Okay.
So we see some people doing the top half and then the bottom half. Some products are not forgiving and they will cause a line in the middle.
Yeah.
You see overlapping. You just see a lot of different things, and really trying to be uniform and consistent will really make a big difference.
Some of this stuff is made to be funny, but reality is that fence is going to look perfect with this with the expert stain later, because it is self-leveling and they'll go back. But the lap marks are important. Even with expert, with any product, if you leave the stain to dry for a few hours and you come back to it and you come to an interrupted line, you're going to get a lap mark there. And as forgiving as it is, that's something you don't want to do. Don't let the stain dry between one area and another. You're going to finish on a board, finish on that board all the way through, and then start from the next board over on the next day. You won't have any problems.
Difference in your stain job.
So when we're talking about uniform and consistency, that's probably, I think of what we're talking about is one solid application from the top to the bottom, with as little overlap as possible.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Very good. Now, you said you've got a bonus for us.
I
What
do.
is the
I have a bonus. Well, the biggest mistake, this is the biggest, the number one problem we see is people are using the wrong product.
Got it.
They're using something that's hard to use. It flashes dry quickly, making it hard to apply. There's weather restrictions. It could freeze. Some water-based products can actually cause warping, cracking, and twisting. So we have figured all that out, and it's right on your hat. It's Expert Stain and Seal, and we believe strongly in that. And there's conditioning oils in this stain to stop warping, cracking, and twisting. There's enough oil in it and a lack of solvent, which means you got gravity will do all the leveling for you. So as long as you put enough stain on the fence or the deck, it's going to level itself out. And so that's the biggest thing, is getting the right product in the person's hand to use. That makes all the difference in the world. And we recommend Expert Stain and Seal.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I think a fair point to make here, though, is some of the products out there can look good when applied by trained professionals. Someone that's done this for a lifetime, has all that experience. But if we're talking about the homeowner, the new contractor, you really got to be careful what products you use, because you could really mess up a fence.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, the icing on the cake here is the fact that this panel was stained by folks with little to no experience.
Yeah, I think here, I'm going to just step in a little bit and comment to both Joe's and Caleb's points. What is the right stain? Well, it might be self-serving to say expert. And we aren't expert stain, but we have worked with them long enough and worked with enough other stain companies to know that they make a great product. And the nice thing about their product is that it's local. I mean, it's made in Tennessee, so it travels well. The other thing that makes stain jobs turn out poorly is when you have to pre-mix the stain yourself, so that you just get the base, and now you get these little tins, and you've got to make your own blend every time you want to carry on your stain job. So if you're buying a gallon and you really need to buy 11 gallons and you've got to buy a pint of each tint, now you've got 11 variables. Each of them are going to be slightly different. The only way that could work is if you took those 11 gallons, poured them into one giant container, and then put all the tint in together. So you see where I'm going. With Expert product, it's already, you buy pecan, it's pecan. You don't, it's already ready to go. So you never have to worry about mixing and matching and lot batches and the rest of it. And it didn't have to travel the planet to get to you. It's right here. It's local. And it's designed and made for species of wood that are around us. I think that's an important piece of what they were saying here. Okay, unique restorations.
Back to another edition of Unique Restorations. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is refinishing my backyard wood deck. Now this project here was a ton of work, way more than I was expecting. So as you see there, it's really dirty. So the first thing we did was power wash it. Come to find out later, that wasn't the best way to go about getting the old stain off. You're supposed to clean it with water diluted with bleach and just rinse it off with your garden hose. The reason you don't want to use your pressure washer is because you're more than likely going to have to resand it because it's going to leave that wood really rough. Now this wood deck was here.
Well, he's absolutely right. The way that's being power washed with short strokes like that are going to leave lap marks. It's going to have a lot of fuzz that's being generated from the wood. So he's spot on. That's not how you want to do it.
Our house, and it's not professionally done, and I would say it's not even done by a good DIYer. It dips and peaks in a lot of different spots. It's just uneven in a lot of. Move on to this color and what I'm doing here.
Okay, so just as a side, you know, rather than bleach, there are some people who swear by bleach, but you really got to know what you're doing with it, and it's not the perfect solution. Obviously, we would recommend some type of a wood cleaner, like the wood cleaner at Expert does a great job in getting that cleaned up. And then, of course, a brightener to brighten the wood and get things started. The other thing is, like the gentleman said here, it's a pretty rough deck. The seams aren't right. It looks like, in fact, the deck was built at one time. One side was built and then it was extended. And now there was that big giant seam that is really creating a fairly significant, we'll say, obstruction. If you were to walk across that deck without any shoes on, you'd find a pretty difficult, you'd get some slivers. I'm going to say that, or stub a toe.
When we were at Home Depot trying to choose a color, they had the little Olympic catalogs with all the different wood stains and seals. And this one was on the inside cover. And next to the color, it said color of the year. And it looked really nice. We wanted to go with something a little bit different. The color that was on sale. We didn't want to go with the red wood or the natural tone cedar. You know, we just wanted to go a little bit different.
Yeah, it looks like Battleship Gray.
And we did definitely go different. So when we bought this paint, they show you the sample of it. And we told the guy there, this looks really dark. He said, no, don't worry about it. It looks that way at first, but when you paint it and it soaks in the wood, it lightens up a lot. All right, fine, no problem. This was our first stain and seal, so I didn't know any better. So there I go, painting the whole deck.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, there's a lot of issues here with the roller. Wouldn't be the best choice, and oh my God, poor guy. You can see the roller's not getting in between the seams. You're not getting the brush doing that work. Yeah, I can see his frustration there. He's gonna paint himself into a corner.
And there it is, a full day later. So there's the color we chose, cinder. And that definitely doesn't look like our deck color. That looks horrible. It looks like we burned the deck down. Not even close. I understand if it's a shade off, but those are two different colors entirely. So the first thing we have to do here is power wash the deck again to get all that new stain off. But what happened is the stain color was so dark that it actually soaked into the wood a lot, as you can see here in a lot of these spots. So when we went over it with the cedar natural tone, it just didn't look right. I'm really not too happy with this, but I'm gonna have to stick it out till it's time to restain the deck again. So I used 1.5 gallons of this paint. Now this paint wasn't cheap. It was, I believe it was $48 per gallon.
Wow.
So I didn't want to be out the almost $100 plus buying 2 more gallons of paint. So I went to Home Depot to see what they can do for me. So 1 gallon was completely empty and 1 gallon was half full. I had to go to 2 different Home Depots because I bought these both at 2 separate Home Depots. And shout out to them, they did give me store credit on both of them. I was really surprised that they were able to give me store credit on the gallon that was completely empty. They did give me a little bit of a hassle, but once I showed them the pictures, I have everything documented here as I was doing for this video. So there really wasn't much for them.
I have to say, I've experienced that myself. Home Depot is pretty good with that. Again, you know, I don't want to bag their products, but obviously they will work with you. There's better solutions for this, and paint is not the best way to be doing a deck. And a lot more prep work would be needed here.
It just wasn't the color that was advertised. So once we did that, we decided to go with the safe color, which was the cedar natural tone. And once we got this done with the cedar natural tone, to add insult to injury, I was painting some cabinets white on the deck, and I was using my new paint sprayer, and the nozzle popped out of the hose and all the paint came out and just splattered everywhere. So now my deck is stained with that cinder color and white paint. I tried to touch it up, putting some more seal over that splatter.
You got a lot of courage to make a video like that, man.
So I hope I can fix this in the future. I totally redeem myself. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing. Check you on the...
Yeah, that's a tough one. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Be sure to stay tuned for more Fence Armor React videos.